unboxing and reviewing a new video light I ordered for maximum Lensflaires on my videos that syncs also with music. So let's first of all open the box. So this was just in the mail as of yesterday already, but I didn't have time yesterday, so therefore here it's today. It's from Amazon Prime. So short history lesson. Previously I already had something like this, and because I already had something like this, I already know what I wanted, but I didn't find the old light anymore. So if you have seen any of my very old videos, what happened there was that I discovered that you could make these very nice lens flares. So this, let's just assume this is the video light, and this other one also synced with music. This new one also should. So let's just imagine this video light. As you can see here around, there is the lens flare. What is lens flare? It's basically the light hitting the glass of the lens, and this causes these lens flares. So if you have something like this here, then the whole video is in red. And now imagine this syncs to the sound of my voice in different colors. That's basically what the old light did, and also what this new light should promise, or at least that's what the Amazon description says. So let's first of all see what's in the box. It's actually a little bit smaller than the old one, which is kind of nice because I'm trying to not have as many big things in my life in order to be kind of more portable. So that's the box, and the other box we don't need anymore. And now let's just see if we can actually open this box also. I think we can. So the old light was, I think, 30 bucks, and this was something. Yeah, the old light was pretty cheap, you gotta say, and we had it in use for many years, also for the occasional party or the other party. And then I discovered that I could just put it up and then just use it as a video light, and making these cool lens flares also when doing talking videos where I just talked and the video light just changed all the time. It's basically a filter, but it's built in the video. You don't have to rely on some foreign technology. And of course it also just looks very interesting and also very nice, which might just be a reason why people might watch videos more, or might find things more interesting if there's an interesting light. I mean, there are also Instagram filters and people put them all over Instagram, so the argument is not completely out of the blue. So now it is very nicely packaged, I gotta admit. It's probably from, there were actually a few different ones that actually look pretty much the same. So when it comes to ordering products on Amazon, what often happens is that you have the product, the original product, which is made in China, for example. Most of the time it's actually made in China, especially with these tech products, I guess. And then you have just different resellers that actually order the stuff from China and then just say, oh yeah, I want to sell this on Amazon, and then they send it to Amazon at a certain price, and therefore you have these different offers of seemingly almost the same thing. Sometimes the specifications differ just a little bit, but that's then about it. And I mean, it just takes a while to open the package actually, also while talking, and also I try to not damage this as much, but now I think I just don't care anymore. So now I'm almost done, as you can see here, and I also just threw it down. Ooh, LED party, LED par light. It's not a par tea light, it's a par light. So when I searched on Amazon for something that should replace the old light, because the old light just hit the ground a few times too much, and this is the reason why it went out. The problem with this new thing here is it doesn't have as many different light spots. The other one had just a much more LEDs, therefore the light was much more even, and also it could produce a white light, so basically combining all of the different things into one, because if you combine all the colors you usually get white, especially with these colors, in the direct proportion of course. But so yeah, and the old one was pretty good as also a white light, and there's also a yellow light, and this is kind of a problem this probably will have. Of course it has the same LEDs, And if you now want to produce yellow, they still can produce yellow. But the problem, I think, is that because there are not as many LEDs, think of the LEDs as pixels that actually make the light frequency. I think this won't be as good. So you can already see a few pictures here. Then, yeah, LED power light, and then it's here, and then it's here. So 36 LEDs are there, which is not very much. And you can also see these things here. So first of all, we have the icon for the microphone, which should mean that it actually connects, not really connects, but it has just a microphone built in, and whenever it hits a certain amplitude, it changes. So amplitude is how loud things are. It just changes the light frequency, so it changes the color of the light. So now, let's open the package. It's black, which is nice. There are a few screws in here. Yes, I could also just switch the... Usually I have this background softening blur on because then it looks more professional, but I would just put it off now. Then you also have a remote, and this is one of the main reasons I ordered this specific light, because the remote was rectangular. The other ones had like something weird shape, and I didn't want weird shapes in my home. So we have this here, and then we have the actual thing. I'm kind of... The problem is the old one was just so good that the new one probably won't hold up. We will actually... I will not mount these yet. Maybe I will, maybe afterwards, but I first want to try out the speaker. And not the speaker, oh man. It just feels like something that's very, very plasticky, because it is plasticky. So, on the back, we have different buttons actually. This is actually also a DMX speaker, meaning you can actually sync it with a mixer and things like these, where you can actually control the lights with something where you can like, where you can basically brighten and also reduce the brightness of the light professionally. So we have these, not screws, but the other thing, so where the screws actually go in on the sides. That actually, I mean, usually I would try it out first, but I also don't wanna... So there is a saying, and the saying is, first you do the work and then you enjoy other things. Literally, and therefore I will now maybe build it. Which also, I just realized I could basically just put it on a stand, and I wouldn't even have to mount it with these things, because here is no... it's not called a screw, but the other thing where the screw actually goes in. There is nothing like this here. So this means you have to have like a different thing where you can actually attach it. This is usually on those microphone poles or things like these, you find something. So I put this washer in between, and now I just screw it on top. So this is the first one. The problem is that we have two, and therefore we actually also need two in there, which is something I probably cannot do. Well, I will stop the video and actually assemble the whole thing, because I cannot really film it without actually taking my whole setup off. Still not assembled. So we take these two. I just wanted to show it because, I mean, I only do this once, this unpacking thing, and therefore I think you have to pull it like this, because otherwise, I mean, one is smaller than the other one, so therefore it makes sense. So now the question is, where do you put the washer? Do you put the washer in between those two arms, or do you put it in between the arms? And, well, I don't know, but I just continue some way. I think I put the washer in between the arms. Or maybe not, or maybe not. I will put it underneath. So, I mean, this is not like the biggest change in the world, because you can still change it afterwards, because it's a screw, and you can actually screw it off, or screw it on and off. I mean, provided screwing something on and off is actually a word or a phrase. So, the big problem I have right now is that I probably will be disappointed, because the other one was just so good, and therefore, then in a few seconds we'll plug this in for the first time. And I hope the music change does work, because that's one of the main things, because I also wanted to continue to make music with this setup. So I think it kind of works. So now we unscrew the cable. We actually funny side story. I used to keep all of these things, these small things, to maybe just in case have things like these whenever I sold something again on eBay or things like these. But eventually I just got rid of almost all of them, because it just takes so much time to actually put this on and put it off. And there is a solution for this that takes far less time. It's called rubber bands. So a rubber band, actually, usually you only, if you have the right length, you only do it like, if you would now take a rubber band like this, put it on here, and it's done. The problem with rubber bands, after quite some time, they run out of elasticity, and then they just tear apart. So now let's actually, so how long is the cable? Another interesting question. Not very long, probably to save some copper on the company side and also to save costs. This was the same case with the old one. I actually showed the old one in a few videos, so therefore just go back to the old videos. I guess this is a meter of cable. So now let's actually plug it in into, oh, you can already see something. And it's pretty blue. I mean, yeah, it works just like the old one, I guess. My worries, oh, look at this thing here up. So it works pretty much like the old one, I mean. So let's try the different colors. We have now a purple tint. No, it's not purple, it's green. But it changes all the time. It changes automatically, kind of. So let's just put it directly in. I don't know if it even can compute these things. So, oh yeah, now it can. So as you can see, and I also could just dim the brightness of the video and just tune it down. Yeah, now you can actually see it. So now it is in the changing mode, where it just changes the colors all the time. So now we have different things here, which are a menu, up, down, and enter. And it actually has a digital display on the back. Oh, now it's a little bit bright, and it has this digital display. It's not really, yeah, I guess it's digital, just like the old clocks. So now the big question is, how do we actually enter the music sync mode? Because obviously it's not music synced as of now. And I'm already starting to think that this was a good investment, a good investment of my time, and not of my time, but of my money, because this is just much more compact than the older one. The older one was like this big, and this one is not. So therefore, even though it doesn't have as many different light bulbs, it also is just more flush. And this, because it's such a neat package, this also means, I mean, it also has these things on the side, which the old one also had, but I didn't realize. And this means you can't just screw it on a mount like this, theoretically, which also opens up endless possibilities, because then I could just mount it to my desk. So now let's actually take a look into the manual, if there is a manual. Ooh, there is one. And see if we can actually hit the music mode. Because right now, it doesn't. But now it just changes the lights. Huh? Oh yeah, so apparently it changes the modes, because I actually set it on top, therefore it just activated random things. So let's actually just go up. Oh, now we have disco mode, which looks really weird on the camera because of the camera. What is it called? It's rolling shutter, I think. So the camera, this is, by the way, really interesting. So usually how a camera works is, imagine in the old cameras, so a movie is nothing else than a picture multiplied. So a picture taken 24 times per second, for example. And now if you want to take a picture 24 times a second, you actually just take a picture. But now the problem is, if you have something like a square, how do you actually shut the whole thing off after a certain amount of time? Because the problem is, if you, for example, have something that's moving very fast and you have this full frame, not full frame, but in this, so just imagine this is the camera sensor. Now the problem is, if you have something very fast, then you don't want to have 1/24th of a second that of light going into this, because then it would be very blurry. Therefore, you take a shorter time and then close the whole thing. And now imagine how could you close something like this. There are cameras that are very nice cinema cameras that can actually close this once and then it's closed. But most of the cameras actually do it like this. So basically there is something that moves in front of, just like a curtain, just moves in front of this. And this is what you actually can see, I think, right now, right here. Because if you hit a certain frequency, then these things become visible and the rolling shutter also becomes visible. Now it's basically white light, and let's actually just try it out now. This is such a strange thing if you think about it. So you have all these different colors, and I go into underexposed. You have all these different colors. These 36 LEDs, if there are 36 LEDs, I think so, because it would be plausible. If you combine these, it's white light. I mean, that's just so strange. I mean, it looks white, it is white, and if you only have 36 LEDs, of course, if you move closer, you can actually see the different colors, which is strange, but at the same time, it's white light combined. This is just such an interesting phenomenon of physics and nature, I guess. So now, let's actually try to hit the other modes. We just enter down. Let's go down. Okay, nothing changed. Let's go down again. Oh, it's the brightness, I think. So I have now 200, and now the problem is kind of that the exposure of the video is kind of automatic. So now I'm 0. I don't exactly know what happened yet now. Are these different configurations? No? Hello? Okay, let's actually take a look at the one thing that just might solve this mystery for us. So, oh yeah, we have also the remote, which could also solve a few mysteries for us, because there are actually not that many keys. If I can find a remote, turns out it was on the ground. So now, let's remove this, because I think I will keep it, so therefore it makes sense. And now let's just turn it off. It works, which is really nice. So we have a button for in the middle, at the top for turning it on and off, and then we just click on sound. Sound. Okay, now it's just on, and then now it's off, which is strange. Hello. Sometimes I think my intelligence is not enough to figure things like these out, but then I remember, well, other people also figured things like these out. So now let's turn it on again. And now it doesn't work anymore, because it says sound. Sound. All right. Now it's FL16, which is this flickering mode. If I click on sound again, it's sound. Hey! And now it works. So if I now speak, and I think the sensitivity is not as high as the older one. So with the older one, I could actually manually adjust the sensitivity of the sound. So now, if I speak, the sound itself changes the light. So now, this is not a proper setup, obviously, but let's just imagine you have the speaker sitting here, and then you just talk all the time, and you sometimes clap. This is where it actually can hit us. So now, my usual setup was to have the speaker, not the speaker, but the light kind of on the side, and then you kind of can produce these lens flares. Sometimes you see the actual light, sometimes you don't see the actual light, and well, so much about the lighting position. Let's see what the other modes actually do. You have all these different numbers on here, which are maybe presets. So, on/off LED. Through the key, quickly on or off light. Seems logic. Manual dimming is RGB. So, from 0 to 255 RGB through the up and down keys to change the LED light. The brighter the degree, the greater the numerical. So this means we have 255 levels of brightness, 256 if you also include zero brightness. Then CC is colors, so there is a CC button on here. And the CC button is colors. Level 1 to 64 change through the up and down keys to select different color combinations. Let's actually try it. So, we can select 64 different color combinations with only 36 LED lights. That's incredible. So now I just hit it again. It's still red. Because it's in sound mode, or I don't understand. Or the remote doesn't work. What is up with the colors? Hello? Okay, so the color button doesn't seem to work. I can turn it off, but if I press the color button, absolutely nothing happens. I also don't exactly know where the infrared sensor is, because these work on infrared. By the way, something very interesting. You can actually see infrared in cameras, like here. I also can see it right now, but I cannot see it. Oh yeah, I can see it right now because there's a red light in there. But often in these remotes you have infrared, which you usually cannot see. And this means you can see, because the cameras usually can see infrared, at least to some degree, you can often see the remotes actually remoting. So now, well, the problem is that I have to figure out how to actually change the colors without, I mean, why doesn't it change? I don't understand. It says CC1. Ah, okay, so now it's in color mode, and now we have to change up and down again. So there is the up and the down arrow. So now let's just see red. Next color, color 2. Color 2 is red and a little bit of green. Let's actually just see how the actual LEDs look. And let's just fix this exposure, and let's just flip through the colors. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, okay. So it dims the brightness of the reds and greens, it seems to. And we are already on 12, on color 12. Of course, you cannot really see the colors. Maybe if I put it up, you can also see the colors now on my face. So now it's a little bit more greenish. Which color? We are already on color 21. So now it's completely green. So it changed from red to green, and now it's introducing blue. And now it brightens the blue probably and lessens the green. And this will go on till there is only blue. And it already looks pretty bluish. We are on color 35. So now we have almost no green anymore. Still a little bit of green, and now it's completely blue. And now it will introduce red. And let's just see what color this gives us. Oh man, this was kind of not the biggest purchasing decision in the world usually. So now it's turning purple because you mix red and you mix red and blue, and it's giving you purple. That's a mystery. So now, well, I mean, there is not much that can happen. So now we have red, and now it's introducing green again because we ran through the cycle. So now let's see what RB is for. The next RB here on the left. So let's actually fix the exposure again. And we have RB on the left. What is RB? RB is the gradient. Level 1 to 64 change through the up and down keys to select different color combinations. Ooh, so the first one was colors, and now we have color combinations. I don't understand. So first we try to only do certain colors, and now we do color combinations. Aha, okay. So we probably can also do different colors now. And it also changes now in, I just might have activated a different mode. So let's actually turn off, turn on. So now it's the flickering thing again. What is SD? Jump down keys. SD is also different color combinations, but parts variable. Oh man, it's complicated. So these 4 different blue buttons are for color combinations. The first one is probably for primary color combinations. We already saw these. And the next one is color gradients. So probably also things like, oh, gradients means it's moving. Aha! So a gradient probably is something that's moving. So basically moving colors in time, two different frequencies. So now we have pulse variable, and pulse variable gives us not the gradient, but they go, as you can see, basically instead of just the colors moving, the individual LEDs just get brighter and then they kind of pulse. Well, level 1 to 64 change. You can basically change probably how fast they actually pulse. Yeah. So if I go higher in the level, then it pulses faster, as you can see. So now let's switch to gradient again, and probably the same is true here. So basically, the up and down keys control how fast the changes appear, the switches in between the different stages of gradients. And now let's try SD. SD is for jump. The one on the bottom, SD is for jump. And now it just jumps through the colors, just like the sound controlled thing would actually. And let's just move the frequency a little bit up. And we are now in mode 10, also from 64. The 64 seems to be a magic number when it comes to this light here. So now, select click this button after save. Aha! So now we can actually save these different things. So, for example, we set the pulse variable to level 10 from 10 out of 64, and then we can actually save it to one of these numbers. And this means we have 200, and how many different do we have? Console mode, save. Settings, click this button after save, starting up for the current interface function. Okay, DMX is now console mode. This means it is controlled by the cable, which is then controlled by a light controller. And now what else do we have? Sound flash. Press 1 as the rhythm of the music changes. Press 2, burst flash mode. So we have two different modes when we go to sound mode. So now it changes, it should change whenever, but it also changes independently. I don't quite know how these modes basically interfere with each other. It seems to be that the blue modes are independently of each other and cannot work with each other. But now the sound mode, so now we have kind of the strobe sound mode, the burst flash mode. Yes. And now it's sound activated, and that's basically the only thing it can do. And in the sound activation, there seems to be no different mode. So basically, you cannot manually adjust the sensitivity, but it's just there. I mean, if you find out where the mic actually is, this might be interesting for actually speaking. And well, now we have the up and down key, which is just to control the other modes, and then we have the digital keys. By control table, choose different address. So basically, we can address the different intensities or the different steps of these four different modes plus the sound mode. And that's basically what it is all about. That's basically the whole speaker. So now we again take a look at the back. You can manually put up and down on these different modes, and if you go into the menu, now we have, yeah, so we have PL. So you can also switch. These buttons actually go, I don't exactly know if these buttons also, I think these buttons just have one-click functionality, so therefore if you click or if you move up or down, it doesn't matter, it's just a one-click functionality. And if you hit enter, it then enters the sound mode, but it doesn't change anything. So therefore, let's just go pulse 2, so we are in PL mode again, and we are intensity 2, and then we can again change the intensity to 64, and then it changes again how fast the switches appear. So we can basically switch to the through the four different blue modes, and I don't think there is a sound activation mode. Is there? Is there not? Yeah, you can also switch to sound activation mode. So basically you have 6 different modes, 4 blue ones, and I just can also show you the manual. This would be also something that's very nice. Oh, the manual isn't only the front. Ooh. So now we can actually see inside. That's actually, oh, there is a master-slave setting, which is basically one speaker controls the others. For example, you could set up 2, and then connect them via a DMX cable, probably, and then control all of the setting with one remote. Operation instructions. Yeah, I mean, basically all of the things we figured out. And of course, the DMX mode with, so you can just use normal DSLR cables, not DSLR, but XLR cables, and connect these speakers, just like these speakers, just like lights, just like speakers. You can connect these lights with the same cables. I think, I mean, I don't know if the cable specifications are differently, but at least the XLR jacks look similar. So I just show you the manual real quick. Not that you will gain any big benefit out of this, but here's the manual from the front and here's from the back. So basically we have a few different buttons, and I guess that's the end of this tutorial. I will probably keep the speaker. That's also the reason I bought the speaker. Even though usually I try to research a lot more, the research this time was basically I researched this particular speaker, so a speaker that actually synced to sound a few times before, but I just didn't find the old one anymore, and this just bugged me. Nevertheless, and I also had the old one, obviously, but I searched it because a friend asked me where I got this nice speaker from. This light from. I actually had in the past, and then it broke, and now I had to find a solution because videos, I mean, these videos also look nice without light, but if you have just a light setup, then everybody is like, ooh, what's that camera setup you are using? Or, ooh, how nice is this camera? And especially if you then use I mean, I'm just using my Galaxy S10 here, and I now increase the background blur. I can even increase the background blur manually, like this. I mean, so if I am in a situation where I just don't want to show the background, for example in a car, but it doesn't often work in a car because it's much too complex. The environment is too complex for the things to understand in order to actually compute this in real time. So I can basically move the intensity. This is just something that's nuts. You cannot do something like this on a DSLR or on a professional camera, most of them. And I also have the file on my phone and things like these. So this is the reason I went basically fully mobile when recording these things. And now I have, again, a video light, and if I figure out how to actually sound activate the whole thing without it turning off and on all the time, so basically, let's just say I go color mode, and then, oh, just look at the bokeh these actually give. Oh man, I could just have something like this in the background. The bokeh is super, oh man, this looks incredible. I just didn't expect this. It just looks absolutely incredible. Absolutely. Ooh, and let's just switch through the colors actually. I want to see this. So now, this is also looks very nice. Imagine this in the background maybe. I can also bring down the intensity of the light. So now I'm just moving the intensity of the blur, obviously. But, oh, if I move the intensity of the blur up to the maximum, I just have like one big light spot because the speaker actually is also blurred. Looks ridiculous. So much possibility, and also the nice thing is it's a very nice geometric form. So now let's just switch to the color. I just switch through the modes right now. This is the gradient mode. Imagine just a video where so now I have the gradient mode and I actually turn down the intensity. Not the intensity, but the time. So this is the slowest it can go. And now I can just have something like this set up. It doesn't even have to. I mean, you can do things like these completely, but then the focus of the camera also has problems. But just something like this. You can turn basically any environment into a studio just by doing things like these. Just by bringing a nice light and also having a camera which actually blurs your background. Of course, it looks better with DSLRs, but then at least for myself, I wouldn't produce these videos. And that's the end of the story. I will keep this. I already like it. It was 33 euros without shipping costs because I don't have Amazon Prime. But I like it. It looks very cheap. It is also very cheap. But it is completely black. The other one was not. And I like black things because they don't distract from the real things, like people, for example. I mean, just how this actually looks. Oh man. and now it's here because it focuses on it. And well, 32 bucks. The brand, actually, I don't know the brand, but I probably will link exactly this speaker also with this remote. There, as I said, there are other remotes. And also there's a, yeah, well, doesn't matter right now. So that's probably the end. I will probably mount it somewhere in the studio. And also if I go to somewhere else, I can just bring the speaker, for example, to a party and everybody's like, or I don't.